91.9 WFPK. Kyle Meredith here. Tonight, my guest, They Might Be Giants. Well, one half of the duo, John Flansburgh, joining me. We got to talk all about their unique and quirky style of songwriting through the past 35 years or so. The full interview you can catch at WFPK.org.
We kind of just do what we do, and it's strange how we're on a very sort of gentle roller coaster ride where things kind of go up and things go down, and it's hard to understand why things happen or when things are going to happen. I mean, what's interesting right now is I feel like we've actually put out a fairly consistent bunch of albums in the past few years, and in a way, I'm kind of coming to the realization that sometimes it has more to do with the world that the album is entering than the album itself. I think a lot of people are really ready for a They Might Be Giants album because the world is such a chaotic kind of dystopian hellscape, and there's something kind of reassuring about the They Might Be Giants record entering the world, and especially that it's for adults and that it's not. I mean, we're kind of mining a very strange cheer up loser thing with our music, and it just makes sense to a lot of people, it seems like.
Don't let's start. This is the worst part. To believe for all the world that you are my precious little girl, but don't let's start. I've got a weak heart and I don't get around how you get around. When you are alone, you are the cat, you are the phone, you are an animal. The words I'm singing now mean nothing more than me out to an animal. Wake up, smell the cat food in your bank account, but don't try to stop the tail that wags the hound. D-world destruction over an overture. And do I need a positivity? Need this shot? Don't let's start. This is the worst part. Could believe for all the world that you are my precious little girl, but don't let's start. I've got a weak heart and I don't.
From LPM,
Louisville Public Media.
No one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful. Everybody dies frustrated and sad, and that is beautiful. They want what they're not, and I wish they would stop saying dibbity dog dog ding dang dibbity dibbity dog dog ding dang dibbity dibbity. World destruction over an overture. And do I need a positivity? Need this shot? Don't let's start. This is the worst part. To believe for all the world that you are my precious little girl, but don't let's start. I've got a weak heart and I don't get around how you get around. I don't want to live in this world anymore. I don't want to live in this world. Don't let's start. This is the worst part. Could believe for all the world that you are my precious little girl, but don't let's start. I've got a weak heart and I don't get around how you get around.
As They Might Be Giants, Don't Let's Start, going all the way back to the beginning for the band. You're on 91.9 WFPK. That's 1986. They'll be coming up on that 40th anniversary just here in a couple of years. I'm Kyle Meredith, talking with John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants, all about their great style. And you can grab the full interview when you subscribe to the Kyle Meredith With podcast.
We're kind of preoccupied with history, and I think as writers, we're also a little bit preoccupied with trying to figure out how to what we're doing have a shelf life. I mean, if you're just a pundit, if you're just talking kind of contemporaneously, improvisationally about the way things are in the world, you can definitely make a lot of hay out of what's happening right now. When you're making a record album, all that sort of theatrical stuff, it's not going to hold up, to repeated listening. and it's certainly not going to hold up to time. I mean, I remember, I guess even just when we were making our first couple of albums, there was stuff we did in our show that was very theatrical, and it was very effective, like in a linear way. Like we would do these sort of surprise kind of stunty things on stage, and people in the audience would definitely get swept up in it. But that's exactly the kind of stuff when you're actually doing the recording or something like, well, what are we going to put in this part of the song where we have audience participation, or whatever the thing is. Like the stunt part of the song needs to be re-infused with some musical interest, because it's not gonna last.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul. Istanbul, even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul.
They might be giants. Istanbul, not Constantinople. It's 91.9 WFPK. I'm Kyle Meredith, hanging out with John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. And again, find our full interview at WFPK.org and when you subscribe to the Kyle Meredith With podcast.
I think the truth is, as writers, we lean on themes of death and despair at every level. I mean, it's like I think there's some things that are very sincere and real and clear-eyed about it. There's some stuff that's kind of fantastical and just for really almost entertainment purposes. And then at its very worst, it's a crutch. It's just like we've got a third verse. We've run out of gas. We've run out of ideas. It's like, all right, let's just blow everything up. It's not just an evergreen theme. It's actually, it's like the Craftsman tool that does like 9 different things. In some ways, I'm surprised that, as younger men, we were so, I felt like we could actually be sometimes we could be sort of more thoughtful than I would expect from us. Considering what sort of, how like sassy and sarcastic we were most of the time. I don't know, in our decrepitude, a lot of things come a little more naturally.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. Life is unfair, so I just stare at the stain on the wall where the TV been. But ever since we've moved in, it's been empty. Why I'm in this room, there is no point explaining. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big.
Grade on a curve, and you'll observe I'm right below the horizon. Yes, no, maybe I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. Life is unfair.
That would go on to become the theme song to Malcolm in the Middle. That is They Might Be Giants with Boss and Me. Thanks to John Flansburgh for hanging out. Our full interview, WFPK.org. And when you subscribe to the Kyle Meredith With podcast.